Hello, teachers, parents, and educational leaders, and welcome to this episode of Breaking Down the B.E.S.T. Now, during this episode, you will get a peek into the members-only area where I have tons of resources to help you make math fun, make it click, and make it stick. There should be a link somewhere around this video where you can learn more. All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's get to it, and let's break down the standard. Welcome to Breaking Down the B.E.S.T, a video series dedicated to breaking down Florida's best standards for math. So grab something to write with and maybe even a snack. This looks good. And don't forget to put a smile on your face. There you go, I see you. And let's dive into today's best standard. Hey everyone, and thanks for joining me as we break down the following standard. Today's standard is MA.4.FR.1.1, and this standard says that students will be expected to model and express a fraction, including mixed numbers and fractions greater than 1, with the denominator of 10 as an equivalent fraction with the denominator 100. So let's go back to that. Modeling, what are we doing there? Well, we are representing with area models and we're representing with number lines. Students will also be expected to express, which means to write or read the fractions properly. Now, a fraction has a numerator and a denominator. Mixed numbers have whole numbers, like this number 3, it's the whole number 3, mixed with a fraction. So a whole number and a fraction together, that's called a mixed number. And fractions greater than 1 have a numerator, the top number, greater than the denominator. And here what we're doing is being able to express fractions with a denominator of 10. You can see in this example over here that the denominator is 10, and that would be equivalent in hundredths to 120 hundredths, and that's what this is all about here. By the way, this document that I'm marking up all over is not something that I created. This is something that the Florida Department of Education releases to the public. And in these episodes, I'm just showing you how I process and break down the standards in order to create the resources that are strategically aligned to the standard in your Taking on the B.E.S.T membership. So we'll spend about half of the video breaking down the standard, understanding it, dissecting it, and then we'll hop over to the website and I'll show you what you have access to. So let's get back to the standard. We've got some benchmark clarifications here. This one says that instruction emphasizes conceptual understanding through the use of manipulatives, visual models, number lines, and equations. This means we will have plenty of visuals and number lines involved in taking on the B.E.S.T. And when you can break out those 10 rods and the 100 rods there that then become the tenths and the hundredths for a fraction, that is awesome as well. All right, so what are some related or horizontal alignment benchmarks that we need to consider here? Well, in 4th grade, MA.4.NSO.2.6 is the adding 1/10 more or 1/10 less to a number that you're given. And 2.7 is where we're adding and subtracting decimal numbers. We also have MA.4.FR.2.3, which is adding with denominators of 10 and 100. What we do here with this standard today, understanding it, will really help us to level up to that 4th grade FR.2.3 standard. And also, there's this one right here, 4.FR.1.2, which is relating fractions as decimals and vice versa. Where are they coming from? In 3rd grade, they had 3.FR.2.2. That was the equivalent fraction standard, and I didn't mark up 5.FR.2.1. This is the adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators. Put denoms for short, okay? Sorry that I missed that one there. There we go. So adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators is what we will step into. And with that 5th grade standard, there's a lot of creating equivalent fractions in order to get those denominators to match. So what we're doing today by converting from a denominator of 10 to a denominator of 100 is going to help with that 5th grade standard later on. Next up, we have the purpose and instructional strategy section. It says the purpose of this benchmark is to have students begin connecting fractions with decimals. Seeing when you have tenths and you have hundredths, that does relate to your decimals, which is helpful. This benchmark will connect fractions to decimals by writing equivalent fractions with denominators of 10 or 100. Those are called decimal fractions. I didn't know that, but that's what they're called. Decimal fractions are defined as fractions with denominators of a power of 10. So when you have a denominator of 10 or 100 or 1000 and so on, those are called decimal fractions because they can be rewritten or converted into a decimal. Now we are super fancy that we know that together. We need to plan experiences that allow students to use 10 by 10 grids, which we will use in Taking on the B.E.S.T, as well as base 10 blocks. That's something that you'll have to provide because it's hard to break that out in the videos and other place value models, but we will definitely focus on those 10 by 10 grids. This work lays the foundation for performing decimal addition and subtraction in that 4th grade standard that we talked about. It also lays the foundation, like we said, for the 5th grade adding and subtracting with unlike denominators, being able to convert them into equivalent fractions. Okay, this one says that students often confuse decimals such as 6/10ths and 6/100ths. Students need to have a conceptual understanding of the visual representations for tenths and hundredths. I think it's because a lot of times students, for so long, hundreds have been greater than tens, and now it's switched because a tenth is greater than a hundredth. So it's really about those visuals to help them see what a hundredth looks like, that 100 itty bitty pieces compared to a 1/10 is much smaller. Here are some instructional tasks and items so you can kind of see what the standard looks like in action. It says to shade the models to complete the equivalent fraction. So 7/10ths would be equivalent to 70 hundredths. By shading them in, we can do that. And that's what a lot of the video lessons in Taking on the B.E.S.T cover. We also have here an equation is shown. What number completes the equivalent fraction? You will see items like this where we're tying in the visual model plus that equation too. So that's what the standard looks like in action. We've broken down the standard. Let's go ahead and see what you have access to with your Taking on the B.E.S.T membership. All right, so here we are at the home page, mccarthymathacademy.com. We're going to click members enter here. Taking on the B.E.S.T. Might ask you to log in, so make sure you do that. In which grade? We'd like 4th grade, right? We will scroll down to the FR fraction strand. And we're taking a look at this one, MA.4.FR.1.1. Okay, so for your first page, you've got the bronze resources. These are the video lessons and the printable student guide. So you just press play, your students can watch the video lessons and they can record their notes that look just like what we're doing in the video. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So you can see there we're practicing shading in that model right there for number 3. First video lesson is using area models. The second video lesson is using a number line to help out there. And you can see that we have those missing numerators that we're trying to plug in just like we saw in the standard. All right, so those are your video lessons there. Now, after the video lessons, we like to make sure that our students have it on their own, right? That's why the silver plan has the extra practice. So when we open that up, we'll click right here on the printables. And this will have your video lesson student guides with the extra practice right under it. So here you can see that video lesson with the area models going from tenths to hundredths, or vice versa, going from hundredths to tenths, incorporating fractions that are greater than 1 as well. Okay, and here's the extra practice page. Once students have practiced with the video lesson, you can then turn them over to extra practice. They can use their notes to help them to start mastering this skill. Then there's another video lesson with the number lines and extra practice. And then you have 2 more. You've got the math mission, which is a math task for this standard. Part 1 says a fraction is modeled below, right? The fraction that's represented, and there it's a fraction greater than 1. And then we're going to write an equivalent fraction to the one above that has a denominator this time of 100. Then model this fraction on the area model below. Then we will plot the two fractions on the number lines to justify that they are equivalent. So you can see it's a multi-step problem there. And then your final activity in the silver membership is there's another video. It's called the Math Misconception Mystery, and these are a big hit with students. In fact, when you play just one of these episodes all the way through, I know that your students are going to beg you for more. So just know that you've been warned. Once you start, you won't go back. What you do is you click play right here, and I will guide your students through the entire process in the video, walking them through. So first I'll say, okay, go ahead and solve this problem on your own. All right, great. Now that you've solved it, we're going to have 4 characters come on, and those 4 characters are just me dressed up in silly costumes. And with those 4 characters, 3 of them will make a mistake that students commonly make, and only one of them will provide the correct answer with the most reasonable solution. And some of the errors are very, very minor, so students have to pay attention to be able to catch on to that. Then they'll fill out their detective report stating who the most reasonable answer belongs to and evaluating the work of the others. So again, these are super fun, and you have your answer keys right there, including my version of the detective report, so it can help you to guide students to their understanding too. Those are your bronze and silver resources. If you have the gold plan, just scroll down and click there. You can go back to your bronze or silver resources at any time. And the gold members also have access to a mini assessment that's strategically aligned to this standard. So you can see the standard right here. There's about 4 to 5 questions and a variety of question types to kind of mix it up a little bit and help to get them acclimated with testing questions. You can see there. All right, and these say show what you know. So if you want to use these as a mini assessment, go for it. If you want to use it as extra practice, go for it. They're flexible and available for you to use how you see fit. There's the answer key right here. The gold members also have these episodes, these breaking down the best standards episodes right there with all of the resources that we're going over in these videos. So that's super helpful. Just know that these videos are also available on YouTube. They just have ads. So that's one of the perks of being a gold member, is that you get it there ad free. And most people go with the gold plan because they want access to McCarthy Math 155. This is a daily math intervention that I created that's aligned to the Common Core standards. Now, if you've been exploring with the B.E.S.T standards, you know that there's a lot from the Common Core standards that is still being implemented with the B.E.S.T standards, but there were enough changes that I had to create a whole new program for it too. So McCarthy Math 155 is super helpful, especially if you have students who are struggling and you want them to consistently be practicing something every day to help them grow stronger and more confident. The 155 stands for 155 video lessons. All right, so let's click on 4th grade. And we can go here. We have place value. So if you have students who need more practice with reading and writing numbers, we have 17 video lessons just on place value, 8 video lessons on addition and subtraction with regrouping to help them practice, multiplication, 16 videos, and so on. With the gold membership, you can check that out. But we want to go to relating fractions and decimals, I believe. Let's see, because we didn't quite hit decimals here, but here we go. See, modeling tenths, modeling hundredths. Here we've even separated, decomposed this skill even more so. Changing tenths to hundredths, changing hundredths to tenths. And then eventually we're going to be adding fractions with different denominators of 110, and you can have that video lesson there. So it's just more practice, really building up those confidence muscles for your students, okay? And there is a B.E.S.T standard about changing fractions to decimals, so you can see that here. You just click play, you click print, and your students are ready to rock and roll with these, okay? So they're super helpful. That's why a lot of people go with the gold plan, because they love McCarthy Math 155 as well. So I think that is it. I hope that you found this video to be helpful as we tackled this standard today. We broke it down. We've seen what it looks like in action. We've seen the resources that you have access to with your membership. So I hope it makes sense and you feel ready to rock and roll with your students. But before you go, let me remind you that what you choose to do with your life every day, it really does matter. Thank you so much for all that you do to help your students. Thank you for stepping up every day and trying to inspire them by being the best version of yourself so you can inspire them to do the same. And I really appreciate you inviting me into your educational space. I love supporting you. I love helping your students. So thank you for that. And I know you're busy, so I will see you in the next episode, okay? All right, bye.
Okay, so I know that I just said goodbye for now, but I'm gonna ask you to do one more thing, okay? If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with your teacher friends or other leaders in education. That's how I get to continue doing what I love to do, which of course is supporting you all to the best of my ability. All right, for real now. Bye.